Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host, Flavia Barris, as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media, including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur. Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we have the absolute privilege of speaking with Monique Alvarez. She is on a mission to share her love of the world with the world. She's a pioneer and leader. She is passionate about teaching location, time, and money freedom, which is something every listener here wants, to those who desire to live life on their terms. She is an energy worker and holds space for her clients to step into their own power and to own their most authentic life. She facilitates high-end masterminds while traveling the world with her family. She is the author of Success Redefined: Travel, Motherhood, and Being the Boss. Her website is MoniqueAlvarezEnterprises.com. Monique, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. And, we were chatting just a little bit ago about how we know each other, because it's always great. Being a solopreneur can be lonely if you work from home or if you're always sort of a nomadic business person. But it's nice when we have these online social communities, right?
Absolutely.
So we met on a Facebook group and I just saw what you were doing in the world and I thought it was fantastic. And I thought to myself, you would be a phenomenal guest for the podcast. We chatted back and forth a little bit and we were able to schedule this interview. And I know the listeners are just going to get a ton out of this because of not just what you bring to the table to your own clients, but it's just inspirational what you've done to structure your own life the way you have.
Well, thank you very much.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what do you do to earn an income, to maintain your lifestyle, and to give you that freedom?
I'm a business consultant for female entrepreneurs and specifically for women who are completely frustrated with the amount of money they're making. It's all too common in entrepreneurship for women to make good money, have a wonderful month, have 3 horrible months, have highs and lows and be all over the place. And that's my specialty, is recurring monthly income, creating stability in income so that our emotions, our plans, our lives are not all over the place and following that trend. So that's what I do. I have a few VIP one-on-one clients, but I focus on group programs, my masterminds, and I also do short 7-day programs, 7 days to income stability, where it's super intense, but women get the absolute blueprint that I've used for the last 9 years to make money every single month.
That's fantastic, because I think that is the challenge in entrepreneurship in general when you compare it to, let's say, being a salaried employee. And that's that, when you're an employee, a lot of times you've just got your monthly income. That's what you make. You're sort of limited in your upside unless you're in sales and you have bonuses or commissions. But generally, there's just more consistency and stability. And I like that you called it income instability as something people just want to avoid. But it is kind of part of the game of being an entrepreneur. You just don't really know how the ups and downs are going to look unless you put strategies in place. And it sounds like that's what you do for people, is you help them strategize. And is it just the strategy, or do you help structure their business or create new streams of revenue, or do you just help them steady out their current streams? What do you think is your specialty there?
It's a combination. And honestly, more than adding streams, I usually take them away, because I find that women are great at multitasking in motherhood, great in multitasking in the kitchen, great at multitasking in their hobbies, whatever it might be. But women multitasking in business is a real bad decision. And I find that women are trying to do too many things at once, and they're not doing any of it well. So most of the time, I narrow them down and say, let's chuck that out the window. This isn't working. It's not making you money, and it's distracting you from this over here, which has real potential. So that's part of it. Looking at, what are you doing? Do you have real focus? And also, how are you structuring packages and contracts and payments? Sometimes, like I'm working with a client right now, we didn't change much except for how she charges her clients. So she creates 6-month or 12-month contracts And that's the only way to work with her. And before she's in the industry, she's a book editor. And it was like people would pay her when they were interested and excited about working on their book. And then they might take a few months off. And so then her income was all over the place. And I said, no, we're going to fix that. We're going to get rid of that. If they want to write a book with you, then they're going to pay every single month for 6 months, and they can be motivated by that or they can be unaffected by that. But that's how we're going to set you up. So sometimes it's just about lining up the logistics so that it actually is possible for that payment notification to come in every month. And also it's about looking at, how do you feel about making money for real? Do you have any guilt or discomfort around sales, about doing really well, about doing better than your parents, about doing better than your peers? Let's talk about that and get that out in the open first. And then we can go about this plan and me showing you how you can follow it every single day.
So what do you think the percentage of entrepreneurs that you talk to have an issue with mindset of how they actually just feel about money, putting aside the logistics of making the money and the business stuff? What percentage do you think have an issue with the mindset that you have to work through with them?
I would say it's close to 80%.
That's huge.
It's huge.
That's like a lot. It's a lot of them. It's 8 out of 10 people that come through the door.
And you know what I learned when I started my masterminds a year and a half ago? I figured out that I actually don't have a lot of money issues. I have my parents to thank for that. I was raised in business, but also I was just raised in always having money. It wasn't like, oh, we're broke and oh, we don't talk about money. It was a very healthy money environment, but I actually didn't even know how healthy it was until I started my masterminds and exclusively working with women, and I was blown away. And I made the decision to bring someone on to work with me, my own spiritual advisor, someone who her expertise lies in vibration and working through the heart set, the mindset, all of the past programming. And we work together. And sometimes I have to tell clients, you're not even ready for the strategy. You're going to go have some sessions with Elizabeth. You're going to go get these new pipes laid. And then you're going to come back. And that has increased my client success rate tremendously, because it's not about the action items. At first, we got to get their head straight.
Wow, that is very powerful. And it's interesting too, just like you were advising a lot of your clients to not spread themselves too thin among too many different projects or streams of income, you yourself, I'm sure, could help with the mindset, but you're actually sending them to another colleague to work on that with them. And then they come back to you with just the one thing that you're focusing on. I think that's a really neat strategy too.
Thank you. Yeah, I found that if I focus on first of all, it's where my gifts are. And that's what I tell people is, yes, I'm a third generation entrepreneur. I was raised in so many family businesses. It's literally in my blood. But in addition to that, it's also where my gifts lie. I have that ability to look at business and go, well, this is missing and that's not working because of this. And this is what you're doing wrong. And this is what you forgot. And it's like, boom, boom, boom. And I don't feel the need to help people in all of the different aspects. It's not my job. And I hope to model that for my clients. You don't have to do everything. You just have to do one thing really well. And I love the idea of mastery. Master something, and then you're golden.
Right. And let's drill down a little bit into this concept, because you're one of the few coaches I've ever had on the podcast or spoken to that says, I spend a lot of time telling people to stop doing certain parts of their business, or to even drop entire revenue streams or different projects completely, and just to focus and narrow it down, which I think is interesting. But I am guessing, just knowing solopreneurs the way I do, that you meet a lot of resistance, because you're basically telling them to choose, it's like Sophie's Choice for anyone that remembers that book and movie, but you're telling them to choose between their babies, their children, all of their projects they've dreamed of and built up. And then you're telling them, you know what, you just need to pick one or two. Or is there a lot of resistance there? Am I right?
There is. And there's two ways that I work around it, or work through it, work over it, whatever we got to do. In fact, the lady that I work with, Elizabeth, when we first started working together, she wanted to keep her spiritual advising and her painting and her jewelry making and this and that and the other. And I said, you can absolutely keep it. I'm going to let you keep that. until when a year or two has passed, and then you come to me and you go, oh my God, what was I thinking? I can't do all this. It's just spreading me so thin, making me crazy. And that's exactly what happened, right? And what I tell clients when they start working with me, I say, you can choose now, or you can choose in 1 to 3 years. It's completely up to you. But sooner or later, you're going to choose, because you'll figure out that this is not the most efficient and profitable way to go about it. And number two, a big thing I focus on is I tell my clients, you are here because you desire to be a businesswoman. And people who are savvy in business don't look at the different projects and programs and all these things as their babies. They say, which one makes sense? Which one has financial stability? Which one has the potential to completely provide for my family, and let the rest go? This is not about, if you want them all to be a hobby, great. But if you want to be in business and you want to make money, then you got to make wise business decisions.
Did everyone hear that? Because I think that's a message that will sort of strike at the core of a lot of what I call the multi-niche personality solopreneurs, who have a lot of different ideas and dreams and businesses, and they sort of do them all at the same time. And that advice, I think, is going to have universal application, not just to the listeners on this show, on your clients and everyone that you share this with. So I'm really glad to have you on to be that voice, because that's an important message.
Absolutely. Sometimes when I see this happening, because we all see it happening, and I just want to tell them, don't do this. Don't do this, because it will cost you. It'll cost you time. It'll cost you money. And I see how my clients come to me when they're on the sales call with me, or we're just starting off in their first handful of consultations. They're so frustrated. They're so exhausted. They're so beat down from not getting traction, from not having success, from not making money. And it's like, we do it to ourselves when we insist on taking on too much.
Right. So your own strategy for your business, you have focused on what you love to do, what you're good at, what helps your clients. Where do you envision your future in this business? Do you see yourself doing the same thing with the same model a few years from now, or is there a shift in the works or any sort of change that you're contemplating?
I love the model. It allows me to travel the world. You know, my family and I, we've been traveling Mexico for the last 10 months. So I have tons of flexibility. I tell people I work about the same amount of time most people sit in their daily commute. You know, I'm working about 3 hours a day. I have 2 little ones. So I love this model. I love working in groups. I also feel like the masterminds and the groups allow women to actually feel what support is. Because so many women, they run their business in isolation without a lot of support, without someone cheering them on, without giving them so no one's giving them a high five when they do well. No one's picking them up when they have a bad day. And the thing that I see happening or evolving over the next few years is me doing consulting for companies and traveling, you know, using the international travel as a way to do that, and continuing to write books. But I love this model because it gives me a lot of freedom, and it allows me to leverage my time.
It sounds like it. So what are some of your guilty pleasures, hobbies that back in the day when people were cubicle dwellers and didn't have a lot of free time? I don't know if that was ever you, or if you've always been able to have a much freer life. But what are some of those hobbies that we can throw out there to inspire any cubicle dweller to add more freedom to their life, to give them some ideas of what they could be doing with that free time?
Well, I have so many. One of my favorite things to do, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we have a nanny that comes and plays with our boys and takes them out for 4 hours. And so my husband and I, at 10 o'clock in the morning, we go have a breakfast date, and we go walk through the streets of Guanajuato and pick up some fruit and buy honey and buy, whatever we want to get as we're walking home. And so we just have this ability to have like a long meal together. And that just wouldn't be possible in a job. And then we get to work together in our office. We have a separate office. We work together for a few hours, and then I go home and I'm with the kids. And also, I think just being able to like nap with my boys. If I want to take a nap in the afternoon, I can go nap with my boys. And I love that. There's no alarm clocks in our house. There's no, we have to be here by this time and everybody rush and There's just none of that. And for me, that's one of my favorite things about having my own business is I can have as much time with my husband and my kids as I want, and nothing is rushed. One of my favorite things when I talk to friends in the US, it's like most people eat in their car or just like shove things in their face. And I love a 2-hour meal with friends and just having conversation.
Right. You are living your weekly life the way most people vacation for just 2 weeks a year, if they're lucky for 2
That's
weeks.
so true. And they feel guilt about taking those 2 weeks.
Right. So this is inspiring. I think this is another one of those messages that people need to hear. So I hope for anyone out there that needs to rewind and listen to that part again, listen to it again, because it is possible to live life like you're on vacation. It is very possible. Monique has done it her own way, but she's not the only one who's done this. This is possible, and it can look very different for different people. It doesn't have to be traveling the world through Latin America and taking 2-hour lunches. For someone else, it may be just to wake up at 5 a.m. every day and be able to surf for 3 hours on a beach of your choice. So it could, it looks different for everybody, but it is possible. So do not give up on that dream if this is something that inspires you and speaks to your soul. And Monique, it's so great to have someone who's an example of it working, being on the show. So thanks again for being here on the show.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Before we end this, I do love to share time saver and productivity hacks or tips, something that you can share with the audience that has either made you more efficient or helped you in your business. It could be a marketing tip, something that you think you can pass on so that we can share the wealth, share the information, and help each other.
Well, I think one of the best productivity hacks I ever did was to rent a separate office, to stop working at home. This is something that I don't even think you can imagine the difference of focus and productivity until you do it. So that's my first one, is have a designated space to work that's away from the kids, that gives you that ability, because it allows me to put in 2 or 3 hours, like condense the work. And then when I'm with my kids, I'm fully with my kids. And when I'm working, I'm fully working. The other thing I love to do is to set a timer when I'm doing something, like to assign, okay, for 20 minutes, I'm going to go network online. For 30 minutes, I'm going to write a blog and knock it out and publish it. It allows me to see how much I can get done, but also to see I don't need to be scrolling for an hour. I can go network in some groups. I can go answer some questions in a very short amount of time.
Fantastic. Great tips. So share one terrifying moment in business and how you got through that moment, because I do also find a lot of listeners are sometimes in their own moment of crisis and they're listening to podcasts and researching and just hoping they can find some answers for themselves. And the way these things work, I'm sure that if you've had a moment of challenge, there's someone out there who's had a similar moment. And it would be great to hear how you came through that.
Oh my goodness. Well, business is filled with terrifying moments. And this is what makes some people cut out for business and some not, because that's the nature of business, right? It's high risk and it can have these terrifying moments. I would say the first terrifying moment was when my husband and I sold a car. We both said we're going to jump in this business together, and we had minus like $3.47 in our bank account. And I walked into a networking group and I was like, I'm going to make this work. I'm not going to be dictated by that negative balance. I'm just going to go in there and give it my all. And we actually ended up getting a client by the end of that month. But what I learned early on is that I had to put my whole self into my business and be okay with wherever things landed in the beginning. Like, it was okay. It doesn't mean anything. I don't have to freak out. I don't have to abort mission. I just got to keep going. So that was the first terrifying moment. This last July, I experienced my first online bullying incident, and cyberbullying I had really never had a personal experience with. And so it was led by one person, but there was a few people involved. It was really terrifying because I thought, I could lose my whole business. I've been in business for this long and I could lose my business. Or what does this mean? How do I bounce back from this? And what I learned is that how many people were for me and how many people supported me, and how to really lean into my friendships and my community. And it also caused me to dig deeper and say, okay, you know what? No, I'm a force to be reckoned with, and I ain't going down without a fight. And since then, I ended up giving myself over a 400% raise because it helped me fight for what I wanted even more. So no matter what challenge you go through in your business, it's never the end. Only you get to decide when it's the end. And you always can reach out for help. There's always something you can do, but the key is knowing that you don't always have to be on top of your game. It doesn't always have to be a great day. It doesn't always have to be a full bank account, but you're going to get through it. It's just a season. It's like the classic saying, this too shall pass.
That is inspiring. I can tell why your clients rave about you and why you have the reputation that you do. Your words are inspirational, motivating, and it's all truth. It all rings true. So thank you for sharing all of that. What are you working on now, and how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I'm working on starting my 11th round of Mastermind, and I'm super excited. I think I've figured out how I can include more people from more time zones and have people from all over the world. So they can find out more information at Monique Alvarez Enterprises. And I also have a Facebook group named after my book, Success Redefined: Travel, Motherhood, and Being the Boss.
Fantastic. Monique, it has been beyond a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for your time and for contributing.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and if you leave a review on iTunes, I promise I will read every single review. If you know someone who makes a full-time living from part-time work, and maybe this is you, please visit lifestylesolopreneur.com to nominate a guest or to nominate yourself. Because remember this, money doesn't buy happiness. But money in the hands of a happy person, there is no greater tool.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Get Shift Done program. It's a lifestyle-changing online class to help you define your business and lifestyle ambitions, and to set goals in a way you've never experienced before. This class will 10x your daily productivity with methods that will blow your mind. And if you use the coupon code podcast, the class tuition is 99% off. Visit GetShiftDone.com to enroll today.